today I wanted to just take a little bit of time just to let you know that you are important and that I love you. And if nobody ever has said it to you, you're going to hear it from me today. You're beautiful, you're handsome, you're divine. This is Antoinette Marie. So I want to say good evening to absolutely every one of you. Thank you for being a part of Antoinette Marie Speaks. Yay! We are so excited. Listen, y'all, I am so excited about this Power of Love series that I brought in another guest. I brought in two guests, actually. And so I want you to come on in the room on today. And I'm asking you to please, hello, Facebook user. I'm not sure who you are, but hey, Carrie, I want you to set up some prayers because, we know that there's a hurricane that's someplace, and my special guests, I believe, are having a little bit of Wi-Fi connectivity issues. So we speak to the atmosphere that we know that this is great and good ground and that everything is going to go according to purpose. So I hope y'all are ready. And I want to say this. Good evening again. How are you doing? It says cannot see your camera or your face. I'm not you can't see my face? Wait, let me check my stuff, y'all. I'm not sure who sent me that. But you can't see my face? That's odd. Not sure why you can't see my face. Carrie, can you see my face? Oh, Carrie said, I see you. Great. Fantastic. Okay. All right. So get your pens, get your pieces of paper. Listen, this is basically your date night. So if you have a spouse or you have a fiance, you have someone that you really are interested in being married to, give them a call, or you know what? You eat your popcorn. They'll eat whatever they want to eat, like a steak or whatever. And this is basically our date night. So thank you for joining me on today. Thank you for joining me on today. Somebody has already asked me, how can I see you? So if you go on Facebook on Antoinette Marie Williams, I'm actually live there and you can see it, or you can go to YouTube. So I want to say hello to our YouTube subscribers, as well as my group, Sister Friends United. Hey, Sister Friends, Antoinette Marie Speaks. I want to say thank you for being on today. So you all know that I am very passionate about, I'm not sure because I can't even see myself on here, but I'm very passionate about love and what love has the capability of doing. And one of the things I've said so many times is that I really believe love has the capability to heal. And so today we're going to be talking about the power of love when it comes to being in a marriage. And so I'm getting ready to invite our guests. So we have Ben and Natalie Harris. I'm getting ready to bring them on, y'all. Yay! Woo, 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 woo. Welcome to Antoinette Marie Speaks. Thank you, Natalie and Ben, for being a part of The Power of Love series.
Thank you for having us.
I think it's...
I think you went out, Ben.
It's awesome what you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're glad to be here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You guys are so scrumptiously cute. Look at them. So before we get started, I want to do this. I want to do this right here. So Ben and Natalie, take a look at this.
Okay. reflection in the whirlwind. I was tussled, blinded by reality of daily facing struggle, oblivious to.
Yay!
That's
so dope.
special. Yeah.
Wasn't that cute? So to everybody, I wanted to say that Natalie and her handsome husband Ben, they are entrepreneurs. Natalie actually is a recording artist. She has a couple of CDs out, but we're gonna get and talk to that a little bit later. But I want to say thank you to Shamika Willis for putting that together for me. I was so shocked when I saw it.
Oh,
So
really awesome.
good. That song, y'all, is a song that Natalie actually is singing. So, yay. You're right, Carrie. It's a beautiful, beautiful couple. All right. Let's get into it. So, Natalie and Ben, tell us a little bit about how you met.
How we met. Well, first I want to make sure you can hear us okay, right?
Yeah.
Good. You wanna?
Yeah, Natalie was chasing me down.
I'm sure that's probably not that true, but okay.
No, but for real, we were at Alabama State University.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Yep, where we both attended college, and Natalie was actually in the theater and performing arts, and I was playing in the band, and I saw a fine girl on stage. I was like, okay, that's me right there. That's me.
Really?
Yeah. So I told all my homies, like, nah, that's me right there. Don't even try it, you know. So from that moment, you know, we started to, you know, talk casually, like, hey, how you doing? And we'd see each other on campus, and you know, we still were just like really, really cool. And I want to say, as time progressed, you know, we.
So, well, remember, like the first time you tried to talk to me.
Oh, you gonna? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
We're gonna go there. So,
tell the tea, Natalie. Spill all of it.
The real, right? No, I'm just fine.
Go ahead.
But the first time he tried to talk to me, we were actually doing a gig together. So this was outside of the play where we first saw each other. Mm-hmm. And you know, he was playing the drums for the gig. I was singing.
Yep.
And a friend of mine asked me, well, she told me that Ben wanted me to come here. And first of all, I was thinking to myself, come here. Why don't he come to me? I wasn't the type of girl to just go to guys. So, you know, I found that strange, but you know, because I knew him, I was familiar with him in the play, you know, I didn't, you know, stiff arm him. So, you know, I went over to him and he happened to be sitting on a piano, right?
The organ.
The organ. Thank you. The organ. And so I went and sat down by him. And this gentleman to me for like 10 minutes.
Wow.
Sat there just waiting. Like, is he gonna say something to me? Is he special or something? What is wrong with this guy?
I literally just.
So I see you guys, we have a little bit of technical difficulty. So as Natalie was saying, she was saying to Ben, like, listen, okay, there you go. Oh, they totally went out. So she was.
Let's see. What about now?
There you go. Got it. Go ahead.
Good.
Yep. Go ahead.
Can you see us?
Yes.
I can see you.
Go ahead. You're good. Go ahead. So she was asking him, like, what's up? Oh, there they are. Go ahead.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So I mean, I sat there for a good 10 minutes and I'm like thinking, okay, is something wrong with this guy? He's not saying anything. And so eventually I was like, okay, well, I gotta go. And somehow we exchanged numbers at least before.
See that? Boom.
before I got up to walk away. So, you know, we talked maybe for like a week, and
it was about 2 weeks. We talked, like, we'll, you know, try to
he
form
wasn't
a
ready.
but look, she
He
wasn't
was not
ready.
ready. Ben was a player, okay, in
I
college.
needed to be yes, but
Hold it.
but anyway, so we talked for like 2 weeks, and it didn't work out. It just didn't work out. We wasn't ready for the time, and the,
yeah,
you know,
I wasn't either.
our worlds wasn't ready, right? And so
Okay.
fast forward to like maybe 2 years later.
So
yeah, it had to been, because it was my
'cause that was
senior
my
year.
first, yep, and then so my junior year.
And my senior year, she was that's when we got asked to do a gig together. Another get together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this time
July
it was
4th.
more serious.
Mhm.
I think we both saw each other way more serious that time. And the funny thing, the God thing about it was, I had asked God, I was so bored that summer. I was in summer school, and I was like, God, if you just give me a friend in my same apartment complex, that would just be so fun, you know. And you will not believe, our very first date, you know, he said, okay, I'm on my way.
So you skipping stuff.
Go ahead.
Because we did this boat party.
Oh,
and my homie at the time, Carrie, he invited us over. So I'm a musician, gigging musician, and I'm like, yo, who you gonna have on the gig? You know, who you singing? You know, so we always knew that ahead of time. So he was like, Natalie, and I was like, Natalie. He was like, yeah, Natalie's gonna be on the gig, and I was like, okay. So we get to the event. Now, the strangely enough, the boat could not go out on the water. We were supposed to take an excursion, so the boat was stuck.
Yeah, the water
was low. Yeah, the water was low.
Okay.
July 4th. And so I stayed home. I typically go to Atlanta for this holiday. She stayed. So we were making do. All right. So long story short, I saw Nat. We did the gig. Natalie was singing. It was a jazz set. And so she was singing. I'm like, man, this girl is going with it. So I'm looking at it. I'm telling my homies, okay, I got it. You know, I ain't gonna mess it up this time. You know. So, but here's like the true story about it. So, you know, we were doing what some bands do. You know, we were drinking, having some, you know, at that time, and you know, and at that time I was into that life. I was smoking and drinking. One of my best friends at the time was like, man, you can't do that and approach Natalie, man. You got to make some, you know, you got to put it down, you know. So literally, you know, in efforts to pursue Natalie, I dropped a beer and what I was smoking at the time, and I never went back up since. And so you know, that's, you're talking about from that point almost 20 years.
Wow. So you all were in your early 20s then when you met.
Yeah. Yep.
You were in your early 20s, and I love,
18,
first of all,
he was 19.
18 to 19 years old. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I love the fact what you said, Ben, about, you know, somebody said to you, one of your guys was like, listen, dude, listen now. You ain't gonna be able to come to Natalie like that. You got to get it together, get your stuff together. And what you did was you decided, listen, I'm very interested in this woman.
Yeah.
So I am willing to let go of some stuff that may not have even been good for you anyway.
Yep.
And decided this was the way that you wanted to go.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That is really beautiful. So let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about, how did you know when you were ready for marriage? Like for real marriage.
How did you know?
So I would say this. Everything around me was pointing to was giving me answers of finding stability, and it was like my environment, everything, like, you know, my friends, and at the time, and, you know, my place of, you know, where I was worshiping at the time, my workplace. And when I say literally everything was just kind of sending me in a direction, and I was paying attention to it. And so when we actually became serious, you know, I want to say at that time in the season of my life, it was really the time that we were putting it together, I got a chance to really see who Natalie truly was. And then when I got a chance to see who Natalie was, I coupled it to past.
So I think my guest, as I said before, they're in a state
Never
where.
came encounter with it, and I.
Okay, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So it's basically seeing Natalie, and everything around me is saying it's time to really focus. Basically brought me to Natalie. It was no one that can compare to her. And
okay, so I have to ask you this question, right? So tell us about that moment where you were just like, "Ooh, she is the one." I mean, was it her smile? Was it her teeth? Did she smell like cotton candy? Like what happened? You gotta give us some tea here. Like what happened?
Well, that's good. That was good because she had a couple of moments like that. So we went over her godparents' house back then, and when I saw Natalie be like the god sister, mother over one of the kids, I was like, oh yeah, she's done. It's done. Because Natalie had this cute petite look, and she don't look like she could hurt a fly. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, okay, she's all gentle and how you been and all this nice stuff. I'm like, okay, could she get with something? Could she be could she be tough?
Can she hold her own?
Yeah, could she hold her own? And I saw her, she had to get on one of the children, and I'm like, okay, she ain't weak, she can hold her on. I'm like, okay, I like it. And so I think that was really a significant point where she could act, when I felt like she could hold her on. Another moment when I let her drive my F-150, and Natalie jumped up in my F-150 at the time and just started whipping it. I'm like, okay, those little things like that really, made me, love Natalie and want to spend time with her more time.
A friend of ours, I forget her name. She told me once we got married that Ben had told her, like, I think the first day you saw me, or that
Kenya,
you were gonna marry me. Yeah, Kenya.
Oh,
the knowing, yeah.
So Natalie, I guess the question is the same question for you. Like, how did you know that Ben literally was the one? Was it like his Mersos? Was it the F-150? Yeah. Was it the kid and play haircut? Like, what was it?
For me, it came gradually.
Okay.
Our situation was definitely one where Ben pursued, like he said, and he chased me. I always thought he was cute. I mean, no matter what, if we were talking or not, he was cute, and he was a really nice guy.
Okay.
But I think for me, God had to show me, or give me a green light, or some kind of a okay. And I've realized over time, talking with married couples and just experiencing life, that God will show you some direct things about a person in the very beginning.
What did he show you? Give us some examples, like give the audience some examples of what you were looking for in a husband. Now, y'all that's on Facebook and YouTube, get your pens and pieces of paper. This may not hit you 100%, but these are some good nuggets. So what were you looking for in a husband?
Yeah, so at the time I wasn't looking for a husband. But when we started dating, and I was kind of consulting my friends and stuff, like I asked them specifically, how did you know when, that so-and-so was your husband? And, they said, something along the same lines, like, they knew from the beginning. And so I started thinking back to our beginning. And signs were there, like, he was extremely supportive of me. I mean, anything I was into, whether it was acting, he would literally singing, he would drive me out of town, out of state, to go to some of these competitions, and, just a huge cheerleader. And outside of my family, I have never had that before. not that I haven't dated some
Mhm.
nice, guys, sure, but Ben stood out to me because he supported me and it was genuine. The pursuing, like, even I remember the first time that, he said that he loved me. My response to him, I wasn't there yet, and I said thank you.
She's like, oh, okay, thank you.
He will never let me live that down. But anyway, um, I wanted to be honest with him.
Yeah, yeah.
It was thank you, but he never missed a beat. Even after that,
Wow.
my response was thank you. He pursued even harder. It was never he dropped the ball. She don't love me. She don't like me. He wasn't insecure about me. He knew what he wanted and he pursued me.
And to piggyback off of that is on the flip side, Natalie gave me something to look forward to. She made
Oh, wow.
investment fun. I enjoy investing into her. One, because I saw the fruit that was coming from it.
Mm-hmm.
I saw her, I saw the immediate responses. I saw the action. She had her own personal drive, and that drove me. Her
Mm-hmm.
to have to be successful, her ability to want to move beyond where she was, man, I needed that in my life. So I
Mm-hmm.
invested in that so I can get it in return. And so not really sure what that principle looked like then. Now seeing it now, I was so interested in seeing who she become based on what I was doing, like, sewing into her life. So taking her to events and doing these things became very, very easy
Mm-hmm.
because she made it easy to do that. So it was really good.
Ben was also a worshiper. One thing for me is I cannot um see anything serious if you don't love God. And so, at the time of us coming together, God was doing some really quick shifts in his
Yeah, it
life.
was. Yeah.
In both of our lives, but just watching your life and watching you grow, God was like taking off layers. I mean, next
Mm-hmm.
week he was cutting off his dreads. Like he said, he put down drink and smoke. And I mean, like, God was really, really changing him right before my eyes. And I'll never forget one service that we went to. It was actually a conference. We had gone to visit my mom and dad. This was, I think, her first time, my mom and dad's first time meeting him. And
Uh-huh.
we all got a chance to see Ben just worship.
Wow.
And
Wow.
it was such a thick, it was something around him that my mom said, what are you going to do with all that? And I was like, I don't. She was like, go cut. And so I started walking toward him, and it was like a force field was around him. I immediately bumped up against something and hit the floor, like not a physical something, but
Mm-hmm.
God was like, don't touch him. He's in a place right now. And
Yeah.
just fall on my knees and just worship, and things like that really helped me in here, because God is he works in the supernatural. If you pay attention, the signs will be there. But our first date, we were praying, and got in the middle of prayer.
Yeah.
I heard, wrap your arms around your husband. And I was like, what? I don't jump the gun. So I'm not somebody who like goes ahead and thinks, ahead. But anyway, I just ignored that, like, whoo, Natalie, something's wrong with you. But I did hug him. And when I hugged him, it was like our hearts
Connected.
just,
It was supernatural.
it was like the most amazing hug I've ever had in life. And so when I thought back to, when I was asked, do you think Ben is your husband? And even when you asked me to marry you, I thought back to everything. And I remembered those words, wrap your arms around your husband. And it was like a green light for me. It was like, God's okay, so that's how I knew that it
You
was.
know what? You both make such a great team. It is like it.
Thank you.
You both exude like teamwork, and we can see that you support one another. It's not like one's up here and the other's down there. And we know that in marriage, there are times where one has to do a little bit more of supporting than the other. But I really, truly like what you said about that he pursued you. That is massively like an on-time word right now, because a lot of times what happens is that the women pursue the guys.
Yeah.
And I don't know necessarily why women do that. So women, let's stop pursuing guys, because it's not even cute. And I honestly can say, I remember my husband said, a real man would not want a woman to pursue him.
I agree. Yeah.
It's not the order of God. And
Yeah.
when you're out of order, then you wonder 10 years down, shoot, 5 years, even less, why doesn't he like me anymore? Why?
Yeah.
You're having to jump through all these hoops.
Yeah.
Tricks to keep someone that, hey, they never sought you out in the first place. It was you doing the pursuing. So it's important to stay in order.
That is so good. And the other thing I like what you said was that that she gave you something to look forward to. Like, in modern times, you hear people say like men are hunters, right?
Yep.
And I know a lot of times you hear people say, oh, that's not true. I personally believe that it is true. If you hear a lot of times people say, well, and Steve Harvey has this thing about the relationships and so on and so forth. But I say to women that really want to be married, you have to step back a bit, because sometimes, we're living in this modern day where women are very independent, and, women are making their own money and so on and so forth. And they feel like, well, you know what? I'm just going to go out and get mine. But there is no place where that's okay.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And there's, and scripturally, there's so many scripture that talks about how the man, the man, we don't even have to go into all of it, but it just is. There's something about pursuing a woman.
Yeah.
And so I'm really glad that you said that. So tell me a little bit about like what has made your marriage in totality, what has made your marriage successful? If you would say our marriage is successful because of two things.
I would definitely say that we both have a willingness to fight, because a marriage is just so not easy. It's work. I think we both are just innately fighters. We feel that we've invested so much, and we've seen God do so much that it would be a poor choice to just let it go down the drain. So we fight, so that means apologizing quickly. We're both willing to just put in the work, whether we want to or not, I'm sorry, I was wrong. We come back to the drawing board over and over and over. And I just think it's that willingness in both of us to do it.
Yeah, I agree. And I would probably say the second thing would be support. I think the second thing is support. I think the beautiful thing about our relationship is that we're a team, and that excites me, because I believe that I feel good when I can look at my wife and she can do the things that I can do, and means that, or even more. That means for me, I've done a really good job in educating my wife and getting her to a place where she could hold her own. So I think ultimately my design for my family is that, we could support each other on a greater level. And so yeah.
Wonderful. So we have all this greatness. And so we definitely got to talk about sometimes where things may have not necessarily been so great. So talk about how do you handle the difficult times? So we know that, so you all share 3 children, right?
Yeah.
So how do you handle the difficult times in your lives as a couple and or perhaps with children or just you as an individual?
Um, I say this one pretty often is, getting studying your spouse, studying them, and watching, being very, very, when you invest it, you're studying to know when someone is uncomfortable, what ticks them off, what their flow in life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You're in a study position, you'll recognize things without even having to say or having to ask the question. And so
Mm-hmm.
I believe that for us being students of each other, um those difficult times comes when Natalie is not saying anything, and I can see that she's uncomfortable, and I can try to meet her need. Or if vice versa, if she sees something wrong with me, then she can visibly see it. Then she either come to me and ask me what's up or what's going on,
Not avoiding.
Mm-hmm.
right, and not avoiding it,
Yeah.
but deal with it. And I think one of the issues is that we stop studying each other. We stop being interested in whether something's wrong or whether she's doing well. So I think for us, managing difficulty is being a student, watching it. However, we do have moments when we argue. And those moments, like Natalie said, is we got to learn to say I'm sorry quickly. And
Yeah.
in past times, I wasn't the one to say I'm sorry quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard. It was like, I'll go to sleep and she'll be mad or I'll be mad. I'm like, okay, just be mad then. You ain't want to go to bed. I'll be that.
Yeah.
But I realized how damaging it was to my next day. I wake up frustrated, and then we'll be on that for like another day. And so what I tend to do is see the value in us being in harmony. So I go apologize quickly. And she would too.
Yeah, I would definitely say trying the shoe on, like what
foot.
he's feeling. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Just seeing if it were me, how I would feel.
Yeah.
And for him, even sometimes in conversation, I would say, how would you like it if, this were you? And then we take that moment to just really see, how would you feel, and then if you don't want that feeling, then you got to change, and I think after that recognition is put out there, you do some things to change.
Mm-hmm.
You always come back. You
Yeah.
always come back to each other.
Mhm.
You don't let grass grow under your feet. You always come back. There's been moments where we have had to kind of separate our space to give time and moment,
Yeah.
cool down, or figure out, let God minister to each other. Sometimes, be early. It was, I'll tell Natalie, she don't need to tell me
Mhm.
all the time where I've gone wrong. For us being believers in the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
we want to leave space for God to be able to minister to us individually. So a lot of times,
Nobody can get you like God.
yeah. So
Nobody can get Natalie together like God,
Yeah.
True.
vice versa. So,
yeah,
like you said, letting God, creating space for God
Yeah,
to
to
move.
talk to
Because
us.
sometimes you could come together to have a conversation about something and think you're going to come out well, and it's still not
Mm-mm.
fixed. Allow God that time,
Mhm.
And then also I
because
would
He
say,
will speak.
right. And also I'll say, what we also do is, we verbalize when the time is right to actually have deeper discussions.
Yeah.
So if Natalie want to talk about some deep, or if I want to talk about some deeper Lawndale work, the kids running around, we'll typically put the kids to bed, and then we'll attempt to have a discussion.
That's right.
Um,
Timing is everything.
Yeah. So yeah.
When someone first comes through the door, just because you've been boiling all day about something doesn't mean that that's the time to talk about it. So, being sensitive to the timing of the Lord, sometimes God will say, go to him,
Yeah.
go ahead and lay it out. And it's the right timing. He's you're able to receive, and we're able to come back together. So
I think it's great that, like, one of the things that you spoke about was, apologizing quickly. I think a lot of times with married couples, we let things fester because we are so upset. And somebody may have not apologized and they may have been in the wrong, but you're waiting for them to apologize. And we know sometimes, unfortunately, that could be 2 days and it may never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It really just depends on where people are with themselves and their relationship with God, right? And so being able to recognize how important it is to apologize very quickly. And I tell you, it's humbling because sometimes when you know that you were not the person that did something, quote, wrong. Let me just speak about me. This is what happened. Where when my husband did something, I tell you, I'm looking like, now you know you're wrong, right? You know you're wrong. And he's like in another world, like nothing has happened. And it used to sting me to a point my underarms would be like stinging, like, come on now, you know you got to apologize.
Right.
And it would never happen. And so what I started just saying is, when we would get into an altercation, a lot of times, not altercation, but like, we got into an argument. Right. And so it'd be like, listen, I'm not getting ready to wait on you to do anything because I got so much seed in the ground. I can't mess up my stuff.
Right. Yeah.
I can't. And I don't do it all the time because sometimes, it just be like, really?
Right.
Really? You think, no, God help me because I ain't getting ready to do no apology right now.
I hear you. It that can be so tough. But it's so important to reconcile. It's important because when you are not at a place of reconciliation, your prayers are hindered. I want this job, God. I want to move, God. I want this and that, and it's bumping up against a glass ceiling. God, have you gone to your mate? Have you made things right? Your growth is stunted. Okay?
Yes,
there are things that happen in the supernatural realm that you have no idea about. I mean, wars are being fought just so y'all can, come together in peace.
Yes.
So it's so important to and humble yourself and do it quickly.
I agree. And do it quickly. Do it quickly because the enemy knows, and typically it's all up in here. The enemy knows, and you'll hear this, these little voices. You didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
It's his turn to apologize first. And so I'm so glad that y'all are being like 100% real because, marriage is great. It's 100% ministry. I tell people that all the time. A lot of times you hear individuals, young and older, that would say, oh, I want to be married. I'm looking for my Boaz. I'm looking for my Boaz. And frankly, I'm kind of tired of hearing people say they're looking for their Boaz when you haven't even found your own self. But anyway, that's another thing.
Right.
But here's the thing, you have to know exactly what type of individual that you've married, and hopefully you've done that work at the beginning.
Right? Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of times we date and then we're like, the first 3, 4, 6 months, you're just like in la la land. Oh, you cute. No, you cute. Oh no, you hang up first. Oh no. And then all of a sudden you married and you're like, well, I didn't even know that you leave your socks all around the house. I'm not understanding that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But, and that's the part about studying, right? Is learning those parts.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. And I think that's very important what you said. And so for some of our men that are out there, listen to what Ben is saying. You have to study the woman that you believe that God has you to be your wife. You got to study. You got to slow down, take your time, and not just be so quick, because marriage in some people's minds, like that's the greatest thing to do. I want to be married. Listen, baby, let me tell you, this is straight up ministry. This is no joke.
Yeah.
And nobody gets married to be in a divorce. Nobody wants to, like, I'm going to get, like, there is really no plan B.
No, not at all.
No.
Or at least it's not supposed to be.
Not supposed to be.
I agree. So tell me a little bit as we kind of wrap up a little bit. So if you could speak to couples right? If you could speak to younger couples, individuals that are saying, hey, I really desire to be married and I'm looking for, and I use that word, I'll say it for in the male term. And a male says, I'm really looking for a woman that has this. What would be certain things that you would say, Ben, to a guy? Make sure you consider this. And then the same question for Natalie. What are things that individuals that want to be married, what things should they consider? Or like, what's the number one thing that a person should consider when they're looking for a husband or a wife?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question. The number one thing a person should consider when they're looking for a husband or a wife.
Mm-hmm. So character, maybe we talk about characteristics.
Mine may not be a direct answer to your question, but maybe it is. My answer would be not what you would look for so much in the other person, but are you ready to submit? You know,
ooh. That's the S word. You use the S word.
That's a death that must take place every day and in every single way. And it becomes easier and easier the more you submit to God, because you know that the rule of his order is that the man is the head of the household. You know, is this someone that you can submit to because they're submitted to God? Okay. You know, and even in moments when they're not submitting to God, are you still going to follow the order of God and be submitted to this person because they are the head now of your household, or they would be if you are considering marrying this person? You know, sometimes, you know, as a man, you know, I know you can speak to this, you know, there's a lot of weight on your shoulders to lead. But it just makes it so hard when the wife just in la la land and somewhere else, you're not submitting. You look want to say something.
I do, because we get this question and somebody just texted me and said, what does submission mean? What does it look like? Like, you know, we have people. So one of the things about this show is that people ask like the hard questions that a lot of times other shows may be like, oh, we're not going to ask it, but we're just going to ask because we really want to help people. So I have two women that said, what is submission? Like, what does that look like when you say, I have to submit, or I am going to submit to my husband? What does that look like?
It means allowing him to, of course, you make decisions together, but ultimately at the end of the day, you know, you have to trust that your husband has, you know, has gone to God and, you know, is going to make a decision that is going to help the family, not hinder the family. Now, if you've married someone that isn't, you know, a man of God, isn't saved, you know, that's tough. You know, that honestly is tough. But still, if you respect God's order, you know, he's going to bless you in the end. You know, he's going to help, you know, your husband. Just like the word says, you know, a wife can, you know, basically almost win her husband to the Lord, you know, just by her character, just by her, you know, attitude, just by the way she carries herself and her relationship with God. Okay, so, but I'll get back to the question. Submission is, it's basically humility. It's not being proud to say, I know everything, I've got the answer to everything. It's allowing, you know, your husband to
Okay, so it seems like we got a little bit of technical difficulty, and I know that they'll come back. So one of the things,
trusting that
there you go.
Okay, we're
Go
back.
ahead.
Yeah, you look like you wanted to
No,
say
no,
something.
you finished?
Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
I just, it's humility is what I was saying. It's, but hey honey, what do you think about this? Of course you can bring your ideas and bring what your suggestions, what you think is a good idea for the family, but ultimately being humble and allowing your husband to make that choice. Hopefully, if you're a reasonable wife, if if you are someone who he can see is has the best interests of the family and is not trying to be the head, he's gonna consult you too. He's gonna, that's kind of how we work, because my husband knows I'm not gonna bulldoze, an idea over his head. I'm gonna bring it to the table and he's gonna weigh it and pray about it, seek God on it. And if it's a good decision, hey, maybe I win, and sometimes he may choose what he feels is best for the family. I have to trust that no matter if we flap together or if we fall, at least we're doing it together.
Okay.
I'll fall together and God will pick up the pieces. He will show. I trust that God is going to show my husband, where we should go, the direction of the family.
Okay, thank you for that. Ben, we're just not gonna let her you're gonna have to, since you're the head of the house, we're gonna just let you speak about it too. Submission.
Funny. So submission to me doesn't mean just to abandon your perspective or your suggestions. It just the common structure of submission is in everything that we do. If we really look at it, if we are at work, we have to submit to our boss. On the time we need to show up. We don't say boss. If the boss say be there at 8:30, we don't say nah, I'm coming at 9. No, it don't work. You really you submit to that governing authority for the greater good. And so I think the greater good is realizing, one, that you and your husband are on the same team.
Yeah.
And that your husband, me, my wife, my intent is to do well by her. So my decisions will be based on doing well by my spouse and my family. So with my wife submitting to me, just understand, when a woman submits, that is a scary thing for
For the both of us.
No, but for real, it's a scary thing for a man, because the weight shifts to ultimately to the man to make good godly decisions.
That's powerful.
It shifts, and I'm telling you, when you hold, if you want to hold, I wouldn't recommend women to hold on to the that power, but I would just say shift it over to the husband and let them take on that responsibility to lead. And then what you do is you hold them up through prayer. When his knees break or if he can't see through, that's where your prayer. So submission comes through really going to God and going seeking godly counsel to help know how to be a blessing or to add value to your relationship to help your husband lead. So it doesn't mean not make suggestions, not contribute in any way. I will recommend do those things, but shift it over to the husband, because it's a scary thing.
It's for the both of you. It's a laying down of your will. It's a laying down so that Christ can stand up in your marriage. Ultimately, you want the will of God, right? The both of you should want that, especially if you're both, a saved couple going after God. You're going to want what God wants.
Yeah.
And so you trust, wife, trust that your husband has that heart, toward God. And then it becomes easier to submit. It also is easier to submit when you see that and know that you've married someone that has that kind of heart, a heart after God and wanting his will.
Wonderful. So one of my last questions is, what is one thing that if you knew then what you know now, what would that one thing be?
If we knew then what we know now.
If you knew then what you knew now about marriage, about commitment, about support, would you do anything different?
I don't think I would. I think being married is a constant becoming one. It's a constant becoming a woman, becoming a man, becoming a woman of God, becoming a man of God. The constant becoming. And so I probably wouldn't erase.
I think they're going to be coming back in a couple of seconds. So my last question is
where I am. So I look back.
There you go.
I was just saying, I don't think I have any regrets.
Okay.
So the one thing would be to take the pressure off. You know, as a young guy get married, there's a lot of pressure to be. And I would say for any man, whether young or old, and you considering marriage, just, you know, just relax, you know, take the pressure off and allow, you know, pursue a relationship with God, you know, because I can't imagine you doing it without him. But I would say, you know, if you don't have that relationship with the Lord, I would say find it, you know, get around, you know, certain people who represent that type of lifestyle and start asking questions. But if you do have that lifestyle, I would just say, just take the pressure off. You know, you're learning as you go. And you know, when you add that pressure on to be a man, it gets very, very challenging. The weight is already on you. So just relax, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that answer. And I think that really helps a lot of men because I think that men already have pressure already just based on some of the things that you've already spoke about because you're pursuing her and there are certain things where you're letting go. But I would tell you also this. I'd tell you, honestly, marriage is a beautiful, dynamic covenant. It really, really, truly is. I like what you said about just kind of slow down a bit, you know, just slow down, just be before you jump into something and decide, oh, wow, this really isn't what I truly want. My last question is, oh, go ahead, Ben, you had something?
You're good.
Oh, so talk to us about any projects that you and Natalie have going on.
So we right now we had we had several that we were working on. One was a marriage book. Seemed like the hardest thing ever to get done, and we set out 2 years ago to complete our first marriage book together, and that's one project that we are working on or trying to ramp up. It's like we hit these moments, and it's like life, and then it's like
work.
Right. And so and then also working on some new music with Natalie. Those are some cool things that are happening for us. And then I would say that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Okay. So tell the audience where, so I said in the intro that Natalie is a recording artist. So Natalie, talk a little bit about the products that you have out there and where people can find you, and then if they wanted to get in contact with you.
Sure. If you want to get in contact with us over music, I mean, all of our music is digital, so it's out everywhere. We have an album out called We Believe, and we are currently working on the next one. But we also have a recent single that was released. It's called I Am Changed. It's out digitally everywhere. And the music video is on YouTube. I Am Changed, Natalie Harris. If you want to be a part of the marriage group, it's called Let's Talk Marriage with Ben and Nat. It's on Facebook.
Yeah, that's really it. Because those two.
Oh, Perso Natalie, per-so-natalie.com.
Yep.
The website. You can get in contact with us there.
Okay. Wonderful. So I want to thank you both.
You're welcome.
For just being here. I want to go through a couple of the comments just really quick. So we had Somebody said, every time the Lord speaks through the connection, somebody said, every time the Lord speaks, the connection gets poor. That same questions are ones I've asked for confirmation. And boy, I'm smiling because Ben and Natalie's answers are what I have been speaking with my spouse.
Wow.
You see how powerful. Sometimes we think, oh, it's just a regular story. It's just our story, but we never sometimes know how much you have influenced, helped, mentored, inspired, or motivated someone else. Someone else said they are absolutely so cute together. Somebody said that you guys are ginormously cute. And then somebody says for you guys to just hold it down. And I like that. One of the things whenever we're in a committed relationship, we have to hold one another down. And you hear people say, oh, that's my ride or die. We know what that means in layman terms,
right?
Because I really believe that, husbands have a very difficult job. Women have a very difficult job as well. And I like the fact that when I speak to you both and I see you both, you really look like you're having a really great time together.
We are.
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of being married and it's all doomsday and no. And so for that, I really appreciate you both. I appreciate you both from joining in on today with our week 2 of the Power of Love series.
That's awesome.
Thank you for having us again.
You are very, very welcome. So we want to say to our audience, thank Ben and Natalie for coming on Antoinette Marie Speaks. And my audience, hold on tight. We're going to put Natalie and Ben back into the green room. Natalie and Ben, don't leave yet, okay?
Okay.
All right. We'll see you later.
Yeah.
So, wow. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. So I tell you, and somebody just said, Cynthia, she said, thank you, Natalie and Ben. Thank you, Ben and Natalie. So that was an awesome interview. And one of the things is that Natalie and Ben have been married for 13 years. And they look like they might be about 20. I tell you, when you're living the right type of life, I tell you, it does something to your countenance, right? And so, again, we want to say thank you to Natalie and to Ben. So on next week, we're going to shake it up a little bit. So we have someone that's going to be coming. It is a single woman, and she's going to give her perspective on the power of love. I know that you all can just see the power of love through Ben and Natalie. I tell you, it was just beautiful and heartwarming. And so on next week, we are going to be, my guest is going to be someone that is currently single. And she's going to talk a little bit about how through her journey, the power of love has manifest in its own way when it comes to her and her life. And so, as I always say, if you have a husband or a wife, please love on your husband or your wife. Let them know that you love them unconditionally. You love them just for no reason at all. Because love is an action. It's just not something that you say. As well as if you have children, let your children know that they are important to you and important to your trajectory, because they are important to your trajectory. I am Antoinette Marie Speaks, Antoinette Marie Williams, and I will see you next week, this time at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. I hope that you have a fantastic, fantastic weekend. This is Antoinette Marie. Welcome home.
In this moment, I am awakened by your love. this moment I am awakened by your love. I am reminded of a time when I was broken, lost in translation in a whirlwind. I was just